welcome to our event, My Life, My Business, which I was here, and it's always about uh, fully engaged in your life so that you can enjoy the experience of your life. And it's interesting that we've started in a certain way this year about goal achievement, and interestingly enough, last week Shanas took us through taking frequent breaks, pausing, going either on writing retreats or think weeks or think weekends and all these kinds of things, or taking frequent daily breaks for focus and creativity and getting things done, and how that actually impacts our productivity. And today I just want to, there's like a sequence to all of this. So we're running with a bit of a thread in different ways, and some of it may be sounding the same, but I think when there's true principle involved is to sit and listen. So welcome to those joining us. Welcome to those listening to us either via playback or via the published podcast on our channel, the Mufasa Coaching Practice. So today, the topic is really around how to feel less busy while getting more done. And this is the theme that I took out of a book by Laura van der Kam, and she entitles her book Off the Clock. So a lot of what I'm going to be discussing is just how she positions it. And I think, there might be nuggets, different times when there are nuggets for us to learn anything, or it might not be, or you just want to, it will encourage you to contribute to the debate. But without further ado, the essential thought behind this book is, if we were not working as much as we think we are, where is our time really going? And this is a question that she poses right at the start of the book. And she says, from her own experience, keeping a time diary is so valuable, is really capturing what it is or how it is you're spending your time. And this, when she did it, gave us such an opportunity just to recalibrate her life. So I'll come back to this thought a little bit later. But she launches really around saying, make your hours memorable by filling them with exciting moments. And I thought that is quite an interesting takeaway. And she expands it in this way, is that memories play an important role in how we perceive time. The more memories we make, the more time we feel we've had. The reason comes down to how the human brain processes its environment and archives what happens in it. So for example, I don't know, and she asked the question in the book is, can you recall what you were doing on today's date, which is the 20th of February, but 3 years ago? So 20th of February 2020. I must admit I was thinking back to it, and I couldn't quite remember what I was doing. And she then says, if you can, it is something because something noteworthy happened on that day. If you don't, it was just a routine day like any other. And why does this happen is that we don't really think about our established routines much, because actually we go on to autopilot, and it's just another one of those things that we do. So furthermore, it's because we don't think about this, it is what makes our routines feel so comfortable, because it doesn't require thought. Therefore, our brains don't catalog our routine time. Now, if you take the same way to work for 235 days of the year, for around 4 years, this is about 1,000 hours if it takes you an hour or 30 minutes to commute back and forth to work, then your brain will typically decide to store these commutes as a single trip. So imagine 1,000 trips stored as a single trip. And just like that, 1,000 of your precious hours have been whittled down to just one experience. So if your brain receives too much sameness such as this, entire years can vanish into memory black holes. And so just to connect back again to what we discussed last week and what Shanas took us through, is the key to create memories is that we need to experience our lives in an intense or novel way. And how do we do this is to either go away on these retreats that Shana spoke about, whether we call them think weekends or think weeks or writing retreats, or breaking our daily busyness or daily efforts or daily inputs activities into brief daily sessions. Now, and then making time to pause and reflect. It's those moments of reflection, those moments to stop and actually take a breath. And when you take a breath, you then notice what's going around you. And Shana spoke about mindfulness. So apparently, science backs up the fact that the brain stores everything that is new. Therefore, if you want to stretch time, have an adventure. And I thought this is actually quite interesting. So, never ever confess that you're not adventurous, because then you won't be able to stretch time. And what are we on about today? So, furthermore, our own insecurities keep us constantly busy. And so we need to learn how to free up our calendars. Now, the psychology around a fully booked calendar gives people the mental reassurance that they are doing something productive with their time. So when you look at those white spaces in your calendars, either you're feeling guilty or you're not, and therefore you feel there's a lack of productivity. Now, if you're a consultant or a coach, therefore white spaces mean you don't have enough billable hours, so there might be reason for anxiety. But let's say it's interspersed quite well throughout the week, and you have some white spaces around. And this is especially for people who spend so much time in meetings. Let's for argument's sake, you spend so much time in meetings, but this, when you do so, makes you feel busy and useful. And this busy is good attitude places a higher value on something that is scheduled at a particular time with particular people than an unscheduled event, which is quite interesting. So the encouragement comes is to ignore your temptation to fill all your spare time with busyness. And this is where those brief daily sessions come into effect. And I've been so thinking about this as doing work in 20-minute time slots. And Shanaz, I quoted you. I've shared this podcast with several people, even some clients of mine, might I add, and they gladly accepted it, I see. And so it is being aware of, and we spoke about this last week as well, is that we want to feel that we are being productive, but we think being busy is the answer to feeling productive. And as you pointed out, being busy does not mean we are being productive. In any event, she speaks about, and the author that is, that we have a perception of how much time we've actually worked with in a week, and sometimes it's a gross overestimate when we think how much time we were so busy. Oh, we had such a long week, and normally at the very best we were actually productive at least about 55 to 60% of the time in reality. And then she says something interesting. It's like throwing this into a curveball, and now it comes into dealing with and being congruent with the theme that we have, is spending time with loved ones can stretch our perception of time and may even increase our lifespan. And I thought, well, I'm going to share this because it's so interesting, is that we think because we work long hours, we're doing it for our loved ones. And eventually when we've worked hard enough and advanced high enough in our careers, the corporate ladder, then we will make the time to spend with our loved ones. But the point here is that we might not have the longevity to do so because we're not spending time. We're not making the time to spend with loved ones, friends and family in real time. So she says it's a common misperception that time management is incompatible with leisure time with friends. Yes, I can agree with that. Devoting more time to important relationships not only makes you happier, it can actually create a perception of having more time. And basically, when she says this, it's food for thought. And I think the challenge is to actually deliberately test this assertion. Now, research has shown that spending time with friends and family is usually a relaxing, feel good experience, and it therefore makes you feel as though you have all the time in the world. And I never thought about it like that, actually. Furthermore, research has also shown that people with stronger social connections tend to have a longer life expectancy than those without social connections. And I would really love to have your thoughts on that one, Shanaz. Um, and that fits, I guess, into your expertise.
Yeah, I wanted to add that it's amazing how I mean it's very much accepted in the sort of psychology, social work, social sciences role, therapeutic role. But for me, I really struggle to bring this across to people in the business world, or people sort of outside that field of social sciences. Because it's almost they struggle to make the connection that having high quality relationships can actually increase your productivity.
Absolutely. Oh, so this is not contradicting in your experience and obviously your vast knowledge and wisdom.
No, not that, but yes, it's absolutely congruent with my ideas and how we think about relational well-being.
Okay, wonderful. All right, so I can then with confidence keep going.
Yes.
Thank you for that. Anyway, and so therefore, good friends and close family encourage you to look after yourself as well as care for you when you get ill. And it's like, it sounds like, well, this is not rocket science, but it's exactly that. It's in the simple things in life. And so therefore, maintaining tight relationships, and this is what she says in the book, is approximately equivalent to stopping smoking. I mean, I thought to myself, really? She says, yes. And I thought about how people who have smoked for many, many years, they sound hoarse. They have lung trouble. They cough a lot, whatever. But when they stop, when for a short enough period, their lungs return to a level of health that is, as if they were basically didn't smoke at all. And I'm not talking about people who already have health problems related to smoking in terms of all kinds of um, opportunistic diseases and so forth. And so that makes me sit up and think, well, it is so interesting that connections with people that you believe are important. And so on a social front, sure, absolutely. But then it's also, what kind of relationships you're having with peers, what kind of relationships you're having with all the stakeholders around you, which would do the same thing for your health as making time for that. So obviously, when we're working hard and we're making a time for a client that makes sense to us, but making time to relax with friends and family, and how do we actively do so? So I'm going to come back to that. In Stephen Covey's time management matrix, he talks about understanding the quadrants of urgent versus importance, and I think this is where it's not urgent to spend time with friends or family unless it does become urgent when the time is run out, when suddenly you have that feeling of it's become too late. But so we're not talking about when you're about to lose somebody. We're talking about generally when you think you have enough time. It is in that mapping is to really place importance, priority on having those relationships in your life. So when things are urgent, we normally attend to them right away. There might be some fire or some smoke, whatever, but we need to deal with them because it has consequences. And normally, the difference between urgent and important, if you deem something is important, then you schedule time. You make the time. You don't say I don't have time. No, we always have time. It's what we do with that time is what's important. So you make it important. And that is right up there with what you believe is mission critical as far as your career is concerned, your business is concerned, whatever it might be. Um, and so a couple of other things that she deals with is she says, well, you know what? If you feel you have too little time to do anything and therefore you feel overwhelmed, it's the same thing that we started talking about at the beginning of this year, where we spoke about small moves making big changes. She says, alter your expectations of how you should be spending your time. And what does this actually mean? So she unpacks it in this way. She says, be reasonable in how you can and or what you can accomplish in the time available to you. Right? So just lower your expectations. Don't say I ought to do this. What can you do within the time that you have? So that reasonability is what we're talking about. So we often cause ourselves pain when our expectations become bigger than reality. This self-imposed suffering then leads to hours of worry about our unproductivity, then leads to us being unable to savor, and this is the point, the inability to savor the time we actually have, but we're focusing on the time we do not have. Right? So there's an opportunity for a massive reframe. So the key to long-term success is to consistently set and meet reasonable expectations. Okay, so I'm going to share just a short little tool with you, which I've done on several other podcasts, but it's a great tool. I love it. I'll bring it up again. So therefore, to make progress toward our goals, we should adopt expectations of slow and gradual advancement. Slow enough and gradual enough for us to pause long enough to savor the time that we have. Right? The time to smell the roses, the time to appreciate how much progress you've already made, and arrest this aspect of having moving goalposts all the time. So the aim smart principle, and later on I could perhaps spend more time on this, but aim smart principle is really focused on the things that you can achieve, and it breaks it down in this way. The acronym AIM has the I part as the ideal, is what ideally can you achieve in, let's say, in a time frame of 3 months. Right? It comes down to this thing, is counting. In 3 months' time, what can I do? And I want to stress, in terms of what she's saying here, this is the reasonability test, is to use the word can, right? Not what I should be doing, what I'm expected to do, what I'm forced to do. No, is what you recognize that you can do. Those letters CAN is very important. What can I achieve? Ideally, in 3 months' time. And then you work back to, okay, so in the next 2 weeks, what can I achieve? Right? Realistically and reasonably, with the resources at hand, and your biggest resources is time. In the time that you have available to you, what can you achieve? Right? And I know we talk about setting big, hairy, audacious goals. Yes, have them, right? But decide you want to do that in 20 years' time. But what we're talking about is in 2023, is to slow down, right? And we've spoken also, and Shanaz has spoken to us about guarding against burnout as well. So the the A part in AIM is acceptable minimum, and this acceptable minimum attaches itself to a 2 week time period, and M is just the middle target or the stretch target, and that's normally 6 weeks. So in a way, you ask yourself, what can I achieve in the ideal 3 months from now? What can I achieve in 2 weeks from now? And what can I achieve in 6 weeks from now? And then you focus on what can I achieve in 2 weeks from now. And you got to understand that you got to be very reasonable. Now, the acronym SMART has got 2 letters in there. It's achievability and reasonability. Achievability just means, well, all things being equal, is if this is the only thing I can that is expected for me to achieve, absolutely I can achieve this. Reasonability says, no, all things being equal is not the only thing you need to do. There are so many other things competing for your time. What can you reasonably do in the time that you have, and also with the resources that you have? Do you have those resources disposable right now, or do you have to work towards those resources? And it's all kinds of things. And by the way, also consider no person is an island. Is what kinds of people, stakeholders in your life would you require, or in your career and your work and the task that you would require? Are they available when you are available? Because that needs to pass your reasonability test. So lower your expectations according to what you can achieve. And this tool specifically helps with when we become stuck, when there's no more progress and we begin to procrastinate, is to think about what I can do, not what I ought to do and what I should be doing, but what I can be doing. That's a way to talk to yourself. So any case, here's another, and lastly, heading towards the thing, is identify which daily experiences make you happy and which ones make you miserable. The quote that, pain is inevitable, but misery is optional comes to mind. But be aware of what are the things that brings happiness in your life, and which introduces the misery, which activities. And so with the means at hand, including a budget, some sort of cash flow, is eliminate the activities that make you miserable. You don't always need to spend to eliminate these activities. I guess in her example is that when you hate traveling to work, and you do have a dream job, but you just hate traveling, so do something about it, right? If you hate the commute, rather than relocate, move closer to the office and things like that you can do. Or other than that, you can rather than work from home, do the hybrid thing, and so on and so on and so on. All right, so in summary, is number 1, keep a time diary. Track your time for a week and account for every single minute that you spent in the week. So I think it's a great mindfulness tool to actually track how you're spending your time, and you do so without absolute judgment, right? You don't judge it, you don't audit it while you're doing it, and you feel, oh, I'm ashamed, look what I'm actually doing. No, you capture it, and then only you analyze it afterwards. And then once you've done all of that, you then eliminate the kinds of things that don't sit within your importance filter, the things that bring you closer to your goals. And it's well-rounded goals that include friends and family, and therefore having the social interactions and relationships that are so important. And then plan little adventures in your diary. Actually schedule them. It requires you to take a pause and to become creative in how you do so. And guess what? Number 3 is practice saying no again. Oh, that one is a recurring thought. And then what we spoke about last week is slow down, stop rushing. Take time to celebrate and savor the good moments. You know, I say this often is we finish activities and we never pause long enough just to celebrate. Not look, some people feel, but that's like bragging. But listen, you need to learn to be your own best cheerleader because that's the fuel that keeps you going. And lastly, put friends on your calendar. And this few things and thoughts that we shared today is how to feel less busy while you get more things done. And yeah, that's at the end of it. So Shanaz, any thoughts in particular?
I love that. So I love I mean, there's so many things that you said that I was making notes while you were writing. I'll go and listen to this again. But I just loved going through the AIM thing again. And I want to tell you, I applied what you did with that. I don't know if you remember I think it was the first or second session or week we had. And I was talking about my training that I
Yes.
can never get. Yeah, I'm trying to get it done. I downloaded the forms and I haven't started it to complete it. But what has happened was that there's a friend of mine who is not working as a social worker, and she's got some time, and so she and I are going to set it up, and so that so in terms of the stakeholders and just me downloading it and will now actually lead to me going to complete it, and it's not yet 3 months. So so I'm thinking I could actually get that done in the 3 months, and I kept my expectations low. And definitely looked at the stakeholders, because I was thinking I can't do that and my full-time job. So yeah, that definitely works. um, and I am looking forward to planning little adventures. I think that's really important, and it can be in your workplace as well.
Correct.
It doesn't only have to be with family and friends, and so that the workplace can become an area where you get a lot of fulfillment from as well. So I think it needs to be extended into the workplace as well. We spend so much of our time there.
Yes, which reminds me is like from a blast of the past is when I was still doing some management studies. We spoke about having a festival in the workplace, and that F of fun is not being frivolous, but to really, really enjoy the amount of time that you're spending, you know. And as you're saying, having those little adventures in the workplace, I mean, just making the time to think about it, be intentional to enjoy what you do, enjoy this journey called life. And so, Shanaz, thank you for co hosting. Thank you to those listening in while we're doing this and talking about these things. And hopefully, with every single week, we're bringing small little things to you. And yes, we use articles, we do a bit of research, and we share that with you. But if you ignore what we say and you never apply it, I don't think it gives you the right then to say it doesn't work. You can only say that if you tried it. So I'm going to encourage you and challenge you. Take what we say, take a small aspect of it, and just try it and prove it, whether it actually works or doesn't work. But the proof of the pudding is in the eating of it. So we would like you to not just to stand and look at the pool, at least dip your toe in and take the plunge. So thank you, everyone, and thank you, Shanaz, for making this such a joyful occasion. It's in the sharing where the caring can manifest. So thank you.
Thank you, Jacques. It was definitely that motivating Monday that you actually need. So thanks so much for that.
Great stuff. And until next week, then, Have a fantastic week.
Thank you.
Bye
Bye.
for now. Bye.